Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video with a good old military story in which our OP decided to go up against his boss, and I tell you, he did it pretty well. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. How I ticked off my boss. I, E4, was an X-ray tech in a U.S. Army hospital in the late 80s. Our boss, E7, asked us to log all repeat films with a tick mark on a posted sheet of paper with all our names listed as column headers. No other explanation was given, and I knew my coworkers would log few of their repeats, especially people like me that worked after-hour shifts. Of course, I was a clever, bored and rebellious little crap, so I went in a different direction. 1 month later, we had a meeting with all the techs from all the shifts, and our boss stood up front and announced that OP had the highest repeat rate by far. He said the numbers, but I don't remember, only that I had more tick marks than anyone else on any shift. He tried to put me on the spot and ordered me to come up front and explain why. I was just young and dumb enough to do it too. I stood before my peers, held up the sheet of tick marks, and proudly exclaimed, "I'm honored to be recognized for outstanding quality control. Like all of you, I take my job seriously because it impacts the radiologists, and providing quality x-rays improves patient care. Thank you so much for this award." There was no award, but all the techs cheered and applauded, so my boss told me to sit my butt down, obviously perturbed that I'd poked fun at his plan. They never counted repeats again while I was there. My boss and I had a love-hate relationship. He loved to hate me. Most of his ideas were half-baked, and I was the only one brave or foolish enough to call him out. Aftermath. He wrote me up for having the highest repeat rate, so I wrote in above my coerced signature that I'd never been trained to QC films by anyone at our hospital. Seeing my documented comment, he assigned me to teach the techs how to QC films. He thought he was so clever. I accepted this challenge, and at the next month's tech meeting gave a 30-minute step-by-step block of instruction on how to QC an adult abdomen film. The pertinent anatomy you should be able to visualize along with optimum KVP and positioning guidelines. This was before the golden age of the interwebs. We didn't have a dial-up, so I had to crack a few books. My little talk was so well received that my boss furiously canceled the rest of my planned QC talks. We maintained our tense relationship for the rest of my enlistment. And our second story. Random guy I haven't seen in over a year calls me names after I won't give him my phone. So the other day, I had an end-of-year project for a photography class, and the theme was through the decades. Since my family has every iPhone from the 7 to the 11, I decided to compare video qualities between them. We keep them just in case one of our phones break. I snapped a picture of all the iPhone boxes stacked up from big to little and posted it on Instagram. This guy had the nerve to FaceTime me. I gave him my number at one point in time years ago to say this. Guy, "Hey OP, what's going on?" Me, "Oh, nothing much, just trying to catch up on some homework. What about you?" Guy, "I'm trying to get some rest. I've been working hard all day cleaning out basements from that big flood that happened, trying to get some money to feed the fam. Mimi," his grandmother, "is getting real sick, and the whole bottom floor of her house got flooded, so I got to get that done too. It's so hard getting any money. We might not have food for the next 3 days. Me, "That's not good. How?" Guy, "Yeah, I hurt my leg real bad the other day, so I've been limping around trying to clean for people so we can eat. I can't wait to get food. I lost my phone the other day in the creek, and I can't call my mom to tell her how I've been." Me, "I'm so sorry. I didn't know times were that rough." Guy, "Well, anyway, I was on your Instagram and I saw that picture. I was wondering, maybe you can help me out and possibly give me one of those old phones?" Me, being naive and too generous, "Okay, I have an iPhone 7 I can ship to you. The screen messes up from time to time, but I'll have to ask my dad since it's his. He shouldn't care though, since it just sits around collecting dust." Guy, "Oh, I was hoping you could give me something newer than that, like an 11. Me, I'm sorry, but everything else is in use right now. My dad has a 7, my mom has an 11 like me, my 2 sisters each have the 8, my other sister has an 11. But I can send you the 7. Guy. Well, what do you mean in use? Me. Like the people they were bought for are still using them. Guy. Oh, okay. Can't you give me yours? Me. LOL. What? Guy. Yeah, just give me yours, and then you can give me 2 more later on for my brother and my friend. Me. No, I don't think I can do that. Guy. Why not? Me. Because what would I use? Plus, they aren't all mine. Guy. Well, your dad can just buy you a new one. Me. No, he can't. Like I said, I can give you the 7, but... Guy. Nah, scratch that. You should give me an iPhone from the store. You know, so it won't have fingerprints on it. And then get the other 2. Me. I never said I was giving you 3 iPhones. Just 1, and definitely not brand new. Guy. But my legs hurt real bad, and I can't work without them. Me. I don't care. I said 1 and 1 only, and now I don't even know if I want to give you it. Guy. Fine. Just send the 7 here. I may get $60 out of it. What about your Xbox? Me. What about it? Guy. Well, I needed to get my nephew a birthday present, and he really wanted one. Me. I'm not giving you my Xbox. Guy. You're such a stupid, selfish Princess Bee, you know that? You get everything bought for you, and you're so privileged. You don't have to work like me. Me. Excuse me? I worked and saved for both of the things you just asked me for. My parents didn't help me get those things at all. It took me a year to get them. Guy. Whatever. I expect what I asked for to be sent here by next week, or there'll be hell to pay. Me. Bet I won't. I hung up on him. I actually don't want to know how people can get so arrogant that they just insult someone just because they won't give them 3 free phones and an Xbox. And our final story. The story of how I got my manager fired. One summer, I was working as a server at a well-known pizza restaurant. It was in a small tourist town, so it was amazing money, and as a university student, that was all that mattered to me. This job was so horrible that I'd go home wanting to quit, count my tips, and decide I could put up with it for one more day. The reason it was so horrible was because of the manager, Tracy. Tracy was hot-headed, irrational, a liar, a manipulator, and overall a terrible human being. I watched her terrorize the other servers and kind of kept my head down to avoid it. Examples of her being awful? She once screamed at me because the entire restaurant didn't have cutlery on the tables, because the restaurant physically didn't have enough and she was too cheap to order more. I was in the middle of filling drinks for a table when she made me stop and go into the kitchen to run the dishwasher. She then yelled at me because that table didn't have full drinks. This all happened in front of a guest who ended up saying something to Tracy about her behavior. After Tracy left, the guest assured me that she was going to be reporting her once another server was running her food. Tracy physically grabbed the server by the arm and pulled her back into the kitchen because that server didn't run the ticket before hers. They got into a screaming match and the cops were called. The server sent me photos of her bruised arm the next day. Tracy played the cops like a fiddle and was like, "That never happened," and batted her eyelashes. I'm not sure how she got away with that. My sister was the hostess and was making $12 a week in tip out. The other servers and I did the math, and my sister should have been taking home $40 a night. Ironically, Tracy had a new boat and a new truck. My sister messed up, I don't remember how, and Tracy took me into the back of the restaurant to scream at me. We were out there for a full 15 minutes before the supervisor told her they needed me back. This supervisor was an angel, and she comes back into the story in a bit. This was a while ago, and I'm sure I'll think of more, but for now, I'll continue with the story. Tracy's reputation in the town was awful. The locals would not eat there because of her. In a small community, everyone had a story about her. I'd get sympathy when people found out where I worked, so that tells you just how bad it was. Supervisors told the franchisees about how bad the working conditions were, but every time they would investigate, she'd turn into a completely different person. She was kind and helpful, and working for that side of her wasn't so bad, but when they weren't there, the working conditions were awful again. It seemed like they'd never catch her in her natural element. The revenge part of my story began on my last day of work. We had a health inspection and failed, so I knew Tracy would be particularly awful that day. I looked at the angel of a supervisor and told her that if Tracy screamed at me, then I was walking out. The supervisor said she wouldn't blame me and didn't know why I'd put up with it for so long. So anyways, Tracy gets in and of course starts yelling at me until I start crying. I finished my last table and walked out, taking my sister with me. Down 2 staff members, the restaurant was in trouble. We drove by it 30 minutes later and there was a lineup out the door because there was no hostess seating people. Tracy had to seat people and serve my section. When I got home, I messaged all the staff that had quit over the summer. I told them that I was whistleblowing and that they should too. The girl that was physically assaulted ended up writing a letter and sending photos of her bruised arm. My letter ended up being 2 pages long, single-spaced, and included everything I've mentioned, with emphasis on her having 2 different personalities when the franchisers were there. A few months later, my sister got a message from the dishwasher saying that Tracy got fired and the angel supervisor took her position. Because of that, I decided to go back the following summer. I was hired immediately. While working there, I discovered the results of my actions. The restaurant was rated the lowest in the country under Tracy's management. This, coupled with the whistleblowers and the civilian complaints, resulted in a serious investigation. I don't remember how high up in the company he was, but a higher-up ended up going to the restaurant under the intent that he was a new supervisor coming in to help because she was short-staffed. He observed her behavior for 2 weeks. After the 2 weeks, he told her, "Here's the step-by-step plan of how we're going to fix the restaurant." Her response was, "Who the F do you think you are?" I guess when he told her, the expression on her face was priceless. I wish I saw it. Anyway, she obviously got fired and is now working at a fast food pizza place in the same town. The place is always empty because the locals still actively boycott her. Isn't this the stage where the restaurant should have huge signs saying, "Now under new management"? Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.